Good morning, Squirrel Tribe. It is Wednesday. It is hump day, my dudes. So something interesting happened about 18 hours ago, if you will, in Tennessee. And this is a topic that I think a lot of people are either very, very for or very, very against, depending on who you are and your beliefs in 2A, if you will. So in Tennessee, they have gone and passed a bill allowing teachers and school staff to be armed. So teachers can now have pew pew pow pows, whatever you want to call them, on their persons in school. The kicker is they don't have to tell parents and other teachers if they are carrying inside the school. A lot of people will have an issue with that. A lot of people will be 100% okay with that. So let me explain exactly what has happened here. State legislatures and legislators in Tennessee passed a bill on Tuesday allowing teachers and school staff in the state to be armed. The bill, according to the summary, authorizes a faculty or staff member of a school to carry a concealed handgun on school grounds subject to certain conditions. And these would be those conditions, right? They have to get an enhanced carry permit, not just your regular old CCP. They have to get written authorization from the superintendent, principal, and the chief of the appropriate law enforcement agency. That's a lot of names you have to get to sign off on it, right? They must also complete 40 hours of basic training in school policing and 40 hours of peace officer standards and training, commission approved training that is specific to school policing each year at the educator's expense. They have to complete a background check. They have to undergo a psychological exam conducted by a Tennessee licensed healthcare provider. All of these hoops they have to jump through, if you will. In my personal opinion, even I am 100% for 2A. I also am worried about certain things in schools, but I also understand how it would definitely come in handy in schools given the amount of or uptick we've had of school involved shootings and students making threats and things like that. I do think that it is a good thing that there's now the option, but I do think it's also good that there has to be extra training, not just any teacher can take one in there, because we all know not all teachers are good teachers. So if you were to let that one teacher who's very, 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 very left-leaning or liberal or whatever you want to call it take one in, we might have a bigger issue. If you have one who's so incredibly far right that it's scary, take one in, you might have an issue. So having these requirements in order to conceal carry inside the school, I think makes perfect sense. It keeps the teacher safer, the rest of the staff safe, keeps the children safer, right? So to me, it's a good thing. Now, the bill puts the nationwide debate over arming educators back in the spotlight as mass shootings continue not only in American schools, but at parades, festivals, places of worship, and more. Gun violence is a leading killer of children in the United States. So far, 436 children under 18 have been killed in gun violence this year, 2024. We're not even 4 months in. You've already had 436 children killed. Now, that's going to be a push for some to say, well, that's why we shouldn't have guns. You know, the government should take them away. Only police and government officials and whoever else should have them. But we all know that's not how it works. Criminals will still find guns. Those children would still possibly have lost their lives, whether 2A was a thing or not. Let's see here. The bill is heading to the desk of Republican Governor Bill Lee. If he does not veto it, the bill becomes law with or without his signature. As long as he doesn't veto it, it's going to go through. In March 2023, it says 3 children and 3 adults were killed in a shooting at a private elementary school in Nashville. If you guys remember when that happened, which is another reason why Tennessee itself said, hey, listen, we have got to let our teachers arm themselves, because it's not, a lot of schools are not safe places anymore. No place is safe places anymore. It is better to have something to keep you and your family safe than not. And that can be a handgun, that can be pepper spray, that can be a taser, that can be a knife, whatever it is. I think everybody should have something on them no matter what. As soon as it is legal for my child to have something on her, she will be carrying stuff. She's got pepper spray now, which technically isn't legal, but a taser or something on her as well, because as a almost 15-year-old girl who will soon be driving, her being unable to defend herself is not an option. I don't care what the people around say, she will have ways to defend herself, right? The student or the shooter at that Nashville school was a 20-year-old former student, was shot and killed by police. The thought process here is, if anybody in that school had a concealed weapon, they may have been able to stop it. 6 people would not have lost their lives, right? Resource officers at schools, sometimes they have weapons, sometimes they do not. It depends on the school. I do remember when I was in high school, our resource officer did not have a gun. He had a taser and a baton. That way, if there was anything that, I think it's called a baton, the billy club, he had one of those in case anything happened. But I don't believe, even when I was in school, that police officers were allowed to have guns on the school campuses. Maybe that's changed now. I got to pay attention the next time I go to my daughter's school, because the police officer stands outside during drop off and pickup and see if he has one on his hip, because I'm not 100% positive. Now, 34 states bar teachers and the general public from carrying guns in kindergarten through 12 schools. This is according to data from Everytown for Gun Safety. Under the bill, parents would not necessarily know or be notified if their child's teacher were armed, a point of contention for many of the bill's opponents. A lot of people who are against 2A would not be happy knowing that their teacher or their child's teacher had a gun in the classroom, because you have to, again, think about it from a different perspective. You have a teacher who has a breakdown or gets mad or thinks a student's about to do something, and then they reply with the wrong force. That's going to be huge also. So that's another thing even teachers and staff have to think about. Do they want to be in that position to be the one that has a concealed weapon in school, and possibly a student get to it somehow, possibly them use it at the wrong time, or ill-advised use or whatever, or need to use it and be too scared to use it, and then the blame is on them because they didn't do their part to stop whatever is happening. There's a lot to think about when it comes to having a concealed weapon, especially in a school setting in these days and times, however you want to phrase that. But I do think that it is good that Tennessee is in the process of having this as a law, that they have passed the bill that's in the process of becoming a law. Personally, and I know a lot of people say you shouldn't tell people your thoughts, you shouldn't, take one side or the other, but that's what I do here. I give you my thoughts and opinions. I think that every state should allow it. I think every state should allow staff or teachers to protect themselves, because there are a lot of things that are happening in these schools. There's a lot of kids these days who are just horrible children, right? I mean, it is what it is, but there are reasons that this bill was introduced and this law may pass, because they see the necessity for it based off the things that have happened in so many schools over the last few years. It says here that a teacher is not allowed to put a rainbow flag on her desk, but she's allowed to carry a gun in this state. That's according to a Democratic state senator, Ramesh Akbari. I don't really think that comparing a gay pride flag on your desk and having something concealed that could save the lives of everybody in your classroom should really be it's apples and oranges. When he's putting it like it's apples, oranges. It's not at all the same thing, Mr. Democratic State Senator. Now, the bill's co-sponsor, who is Republican State Senator Paul Bailey, said there is a lot of misinformation about the legislation, which does not require any teacher in the state to carry a gun while working. This bill is completely permissive. It simply gives a faculty or staff member the option. Some people were worried that it would require teachers to have something on hand, which isn't the case. But if they pass this, if this bill becomes a law, then teachers could still carry a handgun. They could also have a taser if necessary, and probably pepper spray. Right now, they're not allowed to have anything at all to protect themselves and their students. This would at least give them the option of having other things available for a feeling of protection, right? There are going to be some teachers out there and staff members who are going to be opposed to handguns in school, but they may feel better for themselves to have pepper spray. They may feel better if they can have a taser or something along those lines as a safety measure, without the possibility, or in theory, the possibility of it being a life-ending option, right? The bill does not, however, allow weapons to be carried openly, which you would not expect, or in any other manner in which the handgun is visible to ordinary observations, and does not allow handguns to be carried in stadiums, gymnasiums, or auditoriums when school-sponsored events are in progress, nor in meetings where tenure or disciplinary matters are being discussed. Now that's where it's weird to me that you're going to allow them in the classrooms, you know, Monday through Friday from whatever time to whatever time so that your students are safe. But how come stadiums, gymnasiums, and auditoriums when school-sponsored events are in progress is off the table? Because a lot of things happen at school-sponsored events as well. You have all these kids packed into this one place. I'm sure there's going to be issues at some point if there haven't been already. Why would you want the protection of yourself and your students to stop there? I'm curious about why that was where the line was drawn on the ability to carry and conceal. I'm guessing because it can't be on their persons. Like in the classroom, maybe it's in a desk drawer or something. If they're not allowed to have it visible, that's the only thing I can think of. But even then, I feel like if you're going to allow in the classrooms, it should also be at the events as a safety measure, because anything can happen anywhere, which we've all fully learned. Now, I do understand when they say you can't have it on you in meetings where tenure and disciplinary matters are being discussed, because some people could react unfavorably to if tenure is being canceled or if they are in some sort of disciplinary action, right? So I can understand that. But taking it off the table for stadiums, gymnasiums, and auditoriums, that means that it says school-sponsored events, so I'm guessing gym class doesn't really count, but a pep rally during school, a basketball game, a football game, you should still be able to protect yourself there. That's my personal opinion. I like, again, the fact that Tennessee has taken the step and done this, and hopefully more states follow suit, because I do feel personally, my personal opinion, that everybody should be allowed to keep themselves safe. I do understand that it's a sore spot or that's not the right word, a point of contest for, no, y'all, my brain is not braining this morning. I don't know why. It's 9:20. It should be working by now, but I have to sit here and think my child's in a public school. How would I feel as the parent of a child in a public school knowing that her teacher has a gun in the classroom? But I wouldn't know. And that's the thing. I wouldn't know. There could be teachers out there right now who have guns in their classrooms and they're doing it illegally because they're worried about their protection. We don't know. There's no way to know. And if this law passes, they don't have to tell the parents or the students or anybody else. We'll never know. I just have to look at it like we've never known before and we'll never know after. Just always assume that there's protection in the classroom. That's how I'm going to look at it. And that makes me feel better for my child personally. And I know other people will feel the opposite, that they'd be worried that could then be used on their child. See, it's a 50-50. I can see both sides of the argument for and against. I don't know. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts are on it. If you have kids in school or had or will have kids in school, or even if not, you know, your opinion still fully matters. I'm curious what your thoughts are on what Tennessee is doing. Do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? Are you hoping other states will follow suit? Do you think, though, that parents and students should be, should parents be notified? And I know why they're not going to, because then that could be a lot of kids being pulled out of school, which then will mess with all kinds of stuff. I mean, it would just be a complete train wreck, I'm sure. Funding and attendance and the protests and all kinds of stuff. I can understand why they wouldn't tell, but I'm curious what you guys think about this. So that's that for now. I am going to go into the grocery store, get some groceries, go home, make some breakfast. Maybe after I eat, my brain will brain again. Until the next time, my dudes, I love y'all immensely. Have a fabulous hump day. Goodbye.